Alright guys, here we are with another Goodwill DVD, Blu-ray, and VHS video for you here. Pretty nice selection here, and CDs at the top there. And here are some books as well. And I was seeing some pretty cool stuff, like right here is a Charlie Chaplin book. Charles Chaplin in the Bank. I guess that's a movie he did there, but I did see these books, these huge coffee table books. My Life in Pictures, Charles Chaplin, the illustrated story of a comic genius. When you open it up, you have some cool pictures here from, I guess, behind the scenes stuff from when they were filming, and some other things here too, some other behind the scenes stills, publicity stills, production stills. And I believe these books were only going for $3.99. Also, David O. Selznick's Hollywood. You know, Selznick Studios, International, Gone with the Wind, and all that stuff. And here you see it is $3.99, a huge coffee table book. I mean, I wanted to grab it, but I kind of just missed the mark on that one. And I believe that's Gone with the Wind, Scarlett O'Hara right there. Once again, once you open it up, you see production stills, publicity stills. You see at the top there, Mammy from Gone with the Wind, and some more behind the scenes pictures. So I thought these books were pretty cool. They were huge coffee table books, and like I said, I definitely wanted to grab them for $3.99, but you know, can't grab everything. This was also a Gone with the Wind book, the rich and fascinating story. So definitely some cool stuff, some cool Hollywood movie related books that I saw at the Goodwill. And this is all about the production of Gone with the Wind, which is an excellent classic film. You know, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh, who played Scarlett O'Hara, Butterfly McQueen, and Hayley McDaniel. That's the woman who won the Oscar for Mammy. And she said something, I rather play a maid than be a maid in life. So that's just some more Hollywood Gone with the Wind trivia for you there. And here we're going to check out some of these VHSs at the bottom here. This was pretty cool, the Bourne Identity. I had no idea that there was original Bourne Identity. I almost thought this was like, you know, some random movie with the same title, but upon further investigation, I looked on the back and it did say Jason Bourne. So he's a spy without a past, perhaps without a future. So I guess this is one of these original movies before they did the Matt Damon series remake. Here is Fatal Attraction. I love this one with Glenn Close and Michael Douglas. What does she say? I'm not going to be ignored, Dan. So this one is always a great one to watch. And all these VHSs were going for $1.99. Powder, I remember this one always playing on HBO, you know, the mid to late 90s. And I know that someone kind of famous is in here. I think it's Sean Patrick Flannery. I believe he's the guy who plays Powder. So this one was a good one too. It's kind of like, you know, they treat him different because I guess he's like an albino, or he has like these, he looks different. He looks like an alien. In fact, I think he is an alien. I'm not too sure. I haven't seen it in so long. Here's Mr. Holland's Opus with Richard Dreyfuss. You know, this is another one from that mid to late 90s about I think he's like a conductor for a high school band, something like that. I mean, I played band in middle school too, so I remember this movie being talked about. Here's Beaches, Bette Midler and Barbara Hershey. This is like another one of those terms of endearment type movies. And she plays CeCe Blooms, who you see at the top there is Mayim Bialik from Blossom and Jeopardy and The Big Bang Theory. So she plays the child CeCe Blooms. And look at that, $89.95. You see, back in the day before VHSs were really a thing where you could just buy them for public consumption, you kind of had to order them from a catalog. And I totally remember that some of them would be going from $90 to $100. So that was an interesting find. Here is the Christmas Vacation Snapper case, I guess one of the original releases. You know, personally, I love the original Vacation, but this one is good too. I did see it recently, like over the holidays, and I like, you know, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character where he says like, I don't know, Margot. So that's a, you know, pretty good one to watch. You got Juliette Lewis in there as well. You know, I also love Vegas Vacation. That one's a good one with the snake babysitters. So Christmas Vacation is always a favorite of a lot of people. Here we have Strike Back, which I wasn't really familiar with, but this was a big package, you know, so that's why I had to grab it and look at it. I believe it is a TV series. It is like a Blu-ray, a DVD, and a digital copy combo pack. So I had to, open it up and look at it for you guys. Here you have a Cinemax insert right there, digital codes, the episode numbers, and here you open it up and check out the Blu-rays. You got the episode index there, multi-disc set. Open up the flaps there with all the disc trays. So let me know if you guys ever even heard of that, the Strike Back series. Up next is Elmo in Groucho Land, and I was trying to see who at the top was there. I thought it was Halle Berry at first, but I'm really not too sure. Vanessa Williams. It looks like Vanessa Williams. Remember, she was like a kind of a pop star in the 90s. Was she on Desperate Housewives or like Ugly Betty? I think she was on Ugly Betty. But here is Elmo and Groucho Land, which I've never even seen. Some pretty cool finds here I was seeing at the Goodwill. Here's Freaky Friday. We're getting ready for the sequel, Freakier Friday, which I did see the trailer and it kind of looked like a straight to Disney Plus. I actually saw this recently, getting ready for the sequel. So I thought it was a lot better than I had expected. And of course, the original with Jodie Foster as a kid. I did see that one too. I kind of rented it from the library. I was having a Freaky Friday marathon, getting ready for the sequel. But like I say, that sequel looks like it's kind of straight to Disney Plus. Here's an insert for Holes, with Shia LaBeouf. So I thought this one was pretty cool. I can't believe it's, a 20-year-old movie already. Here's Chevy Chase and Funny Farm, which, I've heard of, but I've never even seen this movie. So it was just a nice little snapper case to look at. Let's open it up and check it out here. And here's our Christmas Story, which I like much better than Christmas Vacation. You'll Shoot Your Eye Out. And also, this was directed by Bob Clark, who, did Black Christmas with Olivia Hussey. Remember 24 Hours of a Christmas Story on TBS, where they would run this movie all day and night for 24 hours, one after the next. So those were definitely good times there. Eye for an Eye. I remember watching this one, with Sally Field and Kiefer Sutherland. Her daughter gets attacked by Kiefer Sutherland's character, and then Sally Field goes and exacts her revenge. One thing I remember from Eye for an Eye was, tough titty said the kitty, but the milk's still good. I can't believe I still remember that, but I do. Here's Funny Farm again on VHS. Mixed Nuts, again, a kind of sort of Christmas movie with Chevy Chase. I mean, not kind of sort of, he's wearing a Santa Claus hat there, but here he's kind of like in a Hawaiian shirt. I haven't seen this one in a while. I remember, I believe Parker Posey is in this one. Got bad reviews. I just can't remember too much about it to give you like a synopsis. Cliffhanger. I remember watching this a lot with, Sly Stallone. I love the opening when he's like with his girlfriend, and then his girlfriend gets like, detached, and she falls to her death. I remember in Ace Ventura 2, they kind of spoofed that scene in the beginning with the raccoon. And I did see a few Darkman films. So here's Darkman 3, Die, Darkman, Die. And I always thought this was not a Sam Raimi film. I guess he directed the first one, but you see there it said based on characters from Sam Raimi. And that is Larry Drake from Dr. Giggles. I cannot remember any of the Darkman films, if I've ever even seen one, or I just can't remember any of them. So let's check out some more DVDs and Blu-rays. Here's Crossroads with Britney Spears. And also, I think Zoe Saldana is in that movie. More Britney special features. A lot of stuff to look at there. I remember seeing Crossroads, once or twice. I wouldn't mind watching this movie again. They got to put it up on streaming or something like that. And look at our teen queen, Britney Spears, right there. And also Dan Aykroyd is in this movie. He plays her father. Hit me, baby, one more time. It's Britney, bitch. And here's 7 Pounds. I'm not a Will Smith fan, but me and my coworkers were talking about Will Smith movies, and I brought up to them, oh, remember 7 Pounds? And they were like, oh, I don't even remember that movie. I haven't even heard of it. So it was interesting. I ran into it. Here's a director's cut special edition DVD, 2-disc edition of Amadeus and Milos Forman. They won all these Oscars for this movie, and I don't think he had much of a career after that. And also, this 2-disc edition comes with like the making of Amadeus. I remember liking this movie a lot. Seeing it in high school. And who's in that movie? He's like in Animal House. I can't remember his name. Tom Hulse is his name from Amadeus. Here's Farce of the Penguins, which was, I guess, is a spoof of March of the Penguins. So it has Samuel L. Jackson in there and some other people. That was Bob Saget, who I saw in the back there. I'm like, oh, that looks like Bob Saget, but I forget he's at the top. Monique, Christina Applegate, series Resident Evil Extinction with Mila Jovovich. She's pretty much in all of them. She's married to that guy, that director, Paul W.S. Anderson. You know, Resident Evil is another one where they have 5 or 6 movies in the series, and I don't remember seeing one of them. Look at this digital code. Transfer Resident Evil Extinction to your PC, your notebook. Make sure you have these system requirements. So in the beginning of the digital code, you actually had to insert the disc into the DVD drive into your computer. Things are just kind of so much easier now. They just give you a slip and you enter the code on whatever platform you use. Dirty Dancing. I've had the time of my life. I should have grabbed this. I think it was only, I don't know, $1.99 or however much it was, but this 2-disc DVD Ultimate Edition. Patrick Swayze, Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey is another one who didn't have like really much of a career. I remember her, of course, in Ferris Bueller. She plays Jeannie, Ferris Bueller's sister. And my sister loved this movie. Like, what girl didn't love this movie, you know, growing up in the 80s and 90s? But it's really not a bad movie. Like, one scene I really like is that her sister does this kind of like hula dance with a ukulele. And I always remembered that scene. That scene just plays out, lives in my head rent free. And here is the advertisement for the soundtrack featuring all this cool stuff. You know, the Ronettes, Be My Baby, which opens up the film. So here is the soundtrack, you know, promoting the soundtrack. And also the tie-in, the sequel, Dirty Dancing Havana Nights, which that's like a 20-year-old movie already. I remember that coming out in 2004 or something like that. This was like a really cool addition. I should have grabbed it, but I didn't. And here's a full screen, yuck, version of Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, which I've never seen, but it was a pretty random movie just to find up there, and it was full screen, so I kind of put it back right away. So here's Mr. Wonderful. I had to think about this. I'm like, man, what is that movie? Here's Matt Dillon and I don't know her name, Annabella Sciorra. I was trying to think of like, man, what movie is she in? It couldn't really pop into my head. But here's one of this, I guess, late 80s, early 90s romantic comedies. Remember Matt Dillon? I remember Matt Dillon, especially like in Wild Things with Kevin Bacon. I needed to go over some I Love Lucy, even though this is like the Lucy show. I remember there's a really funny episode in there where Lucy dresses up as a kangaroo. It's so random how I explain it to you, but as I was watching, I was like, man, this is freaking hilarious. And this was another thing, how it seems like it's a 2-disc special edition, but it's a 2-pack DVD. I think it's at 10 episodes up there. So it's only 5 episodes per disc. It doesn't seem like much, right? And all of this stuff is playing on, you know, either Catchy Comedy or MeTV or whatever it's playing on. Here's Bad Company with Ellen Barkin and Lawrence Fishburne. Ellen Barkin's in like Switch, and I've never seen this movie, but that's a kind of cool cover. It kind of reminds me of Dangerous Minds or something like that. So here is some CDs at the top. Here is like the Hunt for Red October score. Remember, there was the soundtracks, there was the score, so, you know, not like there's a huge soundtrack for this movie. You know, sometimes we would buy soundtracks and even the scores. And I remember sometimes getting mad, like you think you would buy the soundtrack like with pop music and rock music, but it would be the score, which is like the symphony and the orchestra and stuff like that. And also here is The Rock. Who made that movie? What's his name? Michael Bay, right? Not my type of movies, but it's still cool to see how they released, you know, the CD soundtracks and the CD scores, and also inside with the inserts with all the publicity stills and the production stills and all that cool stuff. You know, I have my own collection of CD soundtracks and scores. Cookie's Fortune, you know, I don't know why this movie popped out to me. I was seeing on the back here, this is a Robert Altman film. I remember the title of this movie. I've just never seen it. You know, you got a good cast there: Glenn Close, Julianne Moore, Liv Tyler, Chris O'Donnell. Remember all those people like Liv Tyler and Chris O'Donnell? Whatever happened to them, right? I always thought this was a really cool thing. A Hugo. This was like a screener for the BAFTA Awards or something like that. So I thought this was like pretty cool to run into this almost like a box set of the promotional for your consideration. a screener to nominate it or to win the awards. So you could vote on it, so it could win the awards for the BAFTA there. And it did come with this letter inside, dear BAFTA member, for your consideration, here is Martin Scorsese's Hugo. So that publicity letter there, I guess it goes to the industry insiders. Look at this. We ask that you please destroy the disc by cutting it in half with the scissors by February 26th, whatever. And here someone sold it at a Goodwill. Like I say, it did look like a box set, but there was like nothing inside. It just came with the disc and how many awards it was nominated for, what categories it was nominated for. And inside it was just this disc that says Hugo and for your consideration. But it was a pretty cool thing to find, pretty random thing, and going for $1.99 there. So 2011 for your consideration for the BAFTA Awards is Martin Scorsese's Hugo. Okay, here is Gladiator with Russell Crowe, which I actually never even seen, this movie. I wanted to catch up on it, especially with Gladiator 2, but I never got around to it, and I didn't hear too many good things about Gladiator 2, and I believe that was still sealed there too, so here is Javier Bardem in Beautiful. Also, this is directed by Alejandro Inarritu, which he directed Birdman with Michael Keaton, which is a movie that I really enjoyed, that movie Birdman. Here is While You Were Sleeping. I was kind of confusing that with Mr. Wonderful. I remember this movie, how she ends up on the train track somehow, and I guess someone saves her. That movie While You Were Sleeping, and also Sleepless in Seattle with Tom Hanks, these romantic comedies of the early 90s. And also here is Peter Jackson's King Kong. I believe it was a full screen edition too, which is like an over 3-hour film. Naomi Watts, Jack Black, and Peter Jackson's King Kong, which I haven't seen, but the original King Kong is amazing. Here is the first season of Roseanne, one of the greatest shows of all time. Absolutely a great sitcom, ran for 9 seasons, and I can't believe even The Conners ran for 7 seasons. It's kind of hard to believe. Here is George A. Romero's Land of the Dead in this special edition DVD. Comes with a slipcover and the unrated director's cut. That movie, I can't really remember if I've seen it or not. Here's A Walk to Remember with Mandy Moore. I was watching this on TV the other day, and as I was watching, I was like, man, this movie kind of looks so old. So, remember Mandy Moore, the pop sensation from the late 90s and early 2000s. So, I was briefly watching it on TV. I wasn't really paying attention to it. Shane West, Mandy Moore, in A Walk to Remember there. All right, here is Casablanca. Not Frankly, My Dear, I Don't Give a Damn. Play it again, Sam. In a sealed case, there's Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman. Personally, I'm a Gone with the Wind fan, but Casablanca is good too. Here is Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow with Sofia Lorenzo. I guess this is one of these Italian films, kind of interesting there. Big thighs like what? Thighs like what? Also, Scarface in this Universal Collector's Edition. So this was a pretty good find. Remember, this was like maybe one of Universal's the beginning of the DVD days in these collector's editions with the fold-out booklet and the chapter stops and all that good stuff with the pictures and the production stills and publicity stills. I remember Michelle Pfeiffer's name is like Hancock or something like that. Remember when they're dancing, she's like Hancock. So it kind of looks like there it had a making of also, I guess, with the chapter stops. This was another good find. Also, remember those Universal's Collector's Edition had the production notes. There you saw Brian De Palma's production notes. So this was a really good find, this Universal Collector's Edition of Scarface. Remember the portable DVD player? I remember I always wanted to get one. So looks like that never took off. But here's Al Pacino's Scarface, Universal Collector's Edition DVD. And here's Donnie Brasco, Al Pacino and Johnny Depp. I believe Anne Heche is in that as well. I remember seeing that in the movie theater, actually. There's a scene where Johnny Depp or somebody is cutting off someone's leg, like a dead body's leg. That's kind of all I really remember. Let's go back to VHSs. Remember the Gold Diggers, right? Anna Klumsky from My Girl and Christina Ricci. Anna Klumsky is actually coming back out in this new movie. I don't remember what it's called. It's almost like a bridesmaid type of movie, a girls' night out type of movie. And Anna Klumsky is in it. I saw her on the poster. So I thought that was pretty cool. Remember Andre the Seal movie with Tina Mangerino? who I always loved in Karina. Remember that movie with Ray Liotta and Whoopi Goldberg? A worthy successor to Free Willy, it says there. So Andre was another movie that just played all the time on HBO. Here is The Jewel of the Nile, Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. I don't remember this movie too much, but one movie I always remember is The War of the Roses. And here you saw Danny DeVito, like back there it said they are at it again. So I remember The War of the Roses. I always loved that movie, which I heard they're remaking that as well. So here is Titanic, the huge VHS, 2 VHS case, going for $2.99 back there. I think maybe once upon a time I had the VHSs at home, but I must have sold it or gave it away or something. So I'm the king of the world. That's another one that I saw in the theater. You guys already know. You've heard about how big that movie was. And the Celine Dion song. Before Avatar, it was Titanic was the huge movie. I mean, like 17 weeks or some crazy like that at number 1. It was crazy. Here is a Silent Fall. Richard Dreyfuss, Linda Hamilton, and John Lithgow, which I didn't really recognize that movie, but it was, cool to just check out there. Also, here is Final Analysis with Richard Gere and Kim Basinger. So that sounds like it might be a steamy movie, right? You just could tell by the cover right there. Don't remember watching that movie either, but that's a cool, title. Final Analysis. Here's Tequila Sunrise. Michelle Pfeiffer, Kurt Russell, and Mel Gibson. So that was another one. A lot of these movies I either have not seen or I forgot about them, but totally remember them just by the title. Here is another one, Orlando, with Tilda Swinton there, and that's one that I never even heard of. So, but I did see. Look at Tilda Swinton before she made it big. Here is Eddie Murphy and Metro. So this is one of those late 90s, early 2000s comedies when Eddie Murphy was still making movies, before Pluto Nash and the Haunted Mansion kind of derailed his movie career. Here's The Shawshank Redemption in a snapper case. And I always have to tell people, Stephen King wrote this movie, and they're always very surprised. There it says based on Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King. That movie in The Green Mile, I always have to say, oh, Stephen King wrote that. So just a little trivia for you there, and people are always surprised. They're like, he did? Stephen King wrote that? So yeah, and that used to be considered one of the greatest films of all time, The Shawshank Redemption. Okay, here is All Dogs Go to Heaven 2, which I used to have the VHS of All Dogs Go to Heaven as a kid. It was never really one of my favorites. I guess it must have been my sister's favorites. Okay, so here I was checking out the vinyls and I saw a Laserdisc film. So here is Vision Quest, which I never really heard of. It does say extended play there, and at the bottom right you see that LD logo, that Laserdisc logo, only going for $1.99, and there was a sticker that said Laserdisc as well. So here you see Matthew Modine in Vision Quest. Tell me, guys, you ever heard of this movie? He just turned 18, and he's about to turn his dream into reality. This video disc is an extended play, so very cool. Remember before DVD it was Laserdiscs, which they were just as big as vinyl records, but I guess they never really took off. I never had a Laserdisc player, never bought Laserdisc films, would always just see them at Suncoast or Sam Goody, Movie Magic from the Warner Vault, and it lists comedy, Caddyshack there, drama, Blue Velvet, Body Heat, The Color Purple. So promoting their movie library there. And the bad thing about Laserdisc is that they were just like vinyls where you had to turn them over. Look at this, tips for care of the Laserdisc. Store your disc, clean it by doing this, store it by doing that. Do not touch the surface. Make sure that you insert the disc single side, the correct side up. Do not stack more than 12 discs high. And here you can see, just like a record is just this silver disc, this huge disc as big as a vinyl record. And the bad thing about Laserdisc is that you had to flip them over just like a vinyl record. A lot of really cool finds here, especially this Laserdisc of Vision Quest. Alright guys, we are done here with the Goodwill DVD and Blu-ray video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, tap that notification bell, and I will see you next time.